The signal flare burned in her hand before she even registered the shadow moving between the trees. Boots snapped on frozen ground. Too deliberate. Too close. One wrong move, and the men she was supposed to observe would vanish into the night, never to be seen again. And among them, he waited, the man she had loved before the war stole everything from them both. Her fingers itched to ignite the flare, to obey the order that had been drilled into her, and yet every instinct screamed pause. Every instinct screamed, he cannot die tonight.
One flare. One signal. One choice that could destroy everything. If I fire, roads will be sealed, safe houses opened, names erased. If I hesitate, command will know. And he might die. I am trapped between obedience and conscience. Between duty and what remains of my heart.
The radio crackled urgently. Confirmation demanded. Obedience expected. A report of movements. Names. Positions. The war compressed into numbers she could not release without consequence. And the forest, once a haven, had become a cage. Every shadow a potential executioner, every breath a liability.
You shouldn't be here. Not now. Every second risks everything. Move, or watch them die.
I'm not here for myself. Every signal carries their lives. Every breath measures impossible choices. Obey and risk him. Protect him and risk them all. Every instinct screams action. Every memory screams restraint.
Her hand tightened around the flare. The metal bit through her glove. A single motion could ignite chaos or save him. She remembered every face, every trust, every betrayal she had witnessed. The war had made her both courier and executioner. Time compressed into a single heartbeat. Every instinct screamed obedience. Every memory screamed resistance.
Fire it or delay. One choice, irreversible. One flare, merciless. Command waits. The forest waits. And he waits. I cannot measure the cost, only the certainty that action brings consequence.
She glimpsed movement, a shadow slipping between trees, faster than it should be. The network was already reacting. Panic or instinct, she could not tell. Every signal she might send now would amplify risk, could expose leadership, could undo years of secrecy. And yet, hesitation might cost him everything.
I can't obey fully. I can't protect fully. One step, one signal, one breath, and the forest will decide for me. How much can a single person carry before it breaks them entirely?
I see you. I know what you hold in your hand. One action and the consequences will follow. Think carefully.
Her mind raced. Orders, obedience, survival, love, all tangled, impossible to separate. A distant twig snapped, a faint shadow moving too fast for comfort. The resistance could no longer hide. She inhaled sharply, the cold air burning her lungs, the flare still unlit, the weight of her choice pressing like a blade against her chest.
Here. Now. I must choose. Duty, survival, him. And yet, no choice leaves me whole. One motion. One signal. One impossible decision.
Her finger hovered over the flare. A breath, a heartbeat, an eternity. The forest held its silence, the radio crackled in impatience, and he waited, unknowable, unprotected. And she realized, in that suspended moment, that whatever she chose would echo far beyond this frozen night. The war, the orders, and her heart all converged into one impossible act. One spark, one signal, one irrevocable consequence. Weeks before the flare, the orders had come with the cold precision of military ink on paper. She had been selected not for courage alone, nor for loyalty, but for knowledge, the terrain, the language, the habits of those she would be tasked to expose. She had been trained to be invisible, to observe without being seen, to gather intelligence with no margin for error. And yet, even in preparation, there had been a shadow of recognition she could not dismiss.
I knew the men I would watch. Their routines, their supply lines, their leaders. And among them, he. The one I had loved. The one who had vanished from my life, leaving nothing but memory and regret. My orders demanded obedience. My heart demanded restraint. And neither would yield.
The first days had been simple observation, cataloging movement, recording patterns, reporting anomalies. Command praised her discretion, unaware of the cost it extracted. Every report she sent carried coded truth, every silence concealed emotion. And slowly, proximity to him awakened memories she had buried under duty and discipline. She remembered shared laughter before the war, shared dreams, a promise never spoken aloud, a closeness forbidden by circumstance and now by law.
You've returned. I thought I would never see you again. Yet here you are, moving among us like a shadow.
I can't explain. I have my duty. And it is not to you. Every step I take is measured, every glance calculated. Yet I cannot forget what we were.
The days became a careful dance. She delivered maps and messages under the pretense of supply coordination. She lingered just long enough to see him survive, just long enough to remember the warmth of his presence. Command pressures grew. Intelligence became elimination. Observation became betrayal. And she balanced, trembling, between two worlds, the one that demanded obedience, the one that demanded humanity.
Every note I write, every report I send, every coded message. I choose what to reveal. I must protect him in plain sight. I must obey without letting my heart betray him. But the closer I am, the harder it becomes. One wrong glance, one hesitation, one misstep, and the cost will be unbearable.
Nights were worse. She mapped escape routes, memorized patrol patterns, and rehearsed the moment of signal in her mind over and over. Every imagined choice ended in catastrophe, yet she could not abandon the possibility of control. He would appear sometimes near the edge of her vision, unaware of the full danger, unaware that she was both guardian and threat.
You are not like the others. I can feel it. Every glance, every hesitation. Something in you resists the orders, even as you obey them.
I resist, but I obey. I protect, but I follow orders. Every action fractures me further. And every night, I wonder if I will survive the choice I am forced to make.
The preparation months had shaped her body, honed her mind, and sharpened her reflexes, but they could not prepare her for this collision of duty and memory. She had trained for obedience, for secrecy, for survival. She had not trained for love in the crossfire, for the ache of recognition, for the impossibility of choice when orders demanded one thing and the heart another.
I must remember the mission, even as I remember him. Every day I watch, every night I plan. And yet, the closer I am, the more impossible it becomes to keep them separate. One spark, one wrong move, and it will all collapse.
And so the days passed, each moment a rehearsal for the impossible decision that awaited in the forest. Each glance carried risk. Each exchange carried consequence. And the war, indifferent and relentless, pressed her ever closer to the flare in her hand and the irreversible choice it demanded. The flare lit, but not fully. A fractured signal, a partial obedience, a compromise she hoped would save him and disrupt command enough to spare some of the network. The forest reacted immediately. Shadows shifted, movements became frantic, paths she had memorized crumbled under unexpected patrols. Panic rippled through the resistance, and she felt it in every shiver of the branches, every muffled shout in the distance.
It's not perfect. It's not safe. but it's all I can give. I've delayed the precision. I've fractured the order. And now the consequences begin.
Command reacted faster than she expected. Units swept broadly, not surgically. Checkpoints multiplied. Safe routes collapsed. Some partisans were captured. Others vanished deeper into the forest, into territory that no longer offered concealment. Her compromise satisfied neither side. She became exposed to scrutiny above, to retaliation below. There was no neutral ground left.
What have you done? Command will no hesitation. And you risked them all.
I tried to preserve lives. I tried to protect him. But the line between obedience and mercy is a knife, and it cuts both ways.
The forest erupted into confusion. Shouts, boots, and the snap of branches filled the night. Some partisans were captured. Others vanished. Safe routes she had memorized no longer existed. Her calculated fracture had become chaos. Her attempt to control the outcome had failed entirely. And in the center of it all, he moved unseen, a ghost threading through danger she could not fully shield him from.
I wanted precision. I wanted control. But the war does not reward care. It only records results. Every step I took, every signal I sent. I carried their lives and their deaths in my hands.
You cannot hide hesitation forever. The network will suffer. Command will judge. And yet, I understand why you faltered.
The consequences were immediate and irreversible. Lives lost. Paths destroyed. Trust fractured. She had tried to walk the impossible line between obedience and conscience, and the line had snapped. And somewhere, in the chaos she had sown, he remained, unseen, unconfirmed, and dangerously close to death. Her compromise had satisfied no one, yet spared fragments of what she could not abandon.
I failed both sides. I obeyed too little, I rebelled too much. And now, there is no return. Every choice from here will echo in blood and silence.
She stood in the remnants of the forest, listening to the echoes of her fractured decision. Command would record it as qualified success. Resistance would mourn in shadows. And she, caught between the two, realized that in war, compromise is never clean, and choice is never without consequence. The forest had fallen silent. The fractured signal had scattered the network, leaving fragments hidden and some exposed. Command filed their reports with cold precision, mission completed with minor discrepancies. No name was noted, no hesitation recorded. Success measured in logistics, not lives. And yet, in the quiet, she knew the truth: success had a price beyond any report.
The forest is empty. Paths we memorized no longer exist. Faces I knew may never be seen again. He, alive, dead, vanished, remains a ghost I cannot reach. And I am neither fully obedient nor fully defiant. Only a witness to what survives and what is lost.
Days later, files were closed. Names reduced to annotations or missing status. The war moved on, indifferent. The man she had loved was absorbed into the anonymity the resistance relied upon, neither confirmed dead nor safely free. Orders were fulfilled. Duty had been executed. And yet, the personal cost remained unacknowledged, a weight carried silently under her uniform.
I do not know if you saved him, or doomed them all. But I know you acted with intent, and intent can be both salvation and curse.
I can only measure what survives, and even that is incomplete. The war will continue. Records will show efficiency. Lives erased or saved will not be distinguished. And I will carry the silence of what I chose, and what I could not.
She walked through the remnants of the forest, each footprint a testament to decisions that could not be undone. The wind carried echoes of voices she might never hear again. Every shadow reminded her of the network she had partially spared, partially doomed. And every heartbeat reminded her of the one she loved, lost between orders and conscience.
Obedience is recorded. Mercy is invisible. Love is forbidden. And in the silence that follows, the war preserves order and erases context. All that remains is consequence. All that survives is choice, bitter and irreversible.
She left the forest, not victorious, not reconciled, only aware that the war had continued without pause. Names were filed. Missions completed. And the man she once loved remained a shadow in memory, a ghost unacknowledged by any report. Victory had a ledger, but hearts and conscience had none. And she carried the silent cost, alone.